Cointelpro is a series of covert and illegal operations conducted by the FBI aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and dissolving popular political movements in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, including the Civil Rights Movement, the Anti-War Movement, the Black Panthers, the Communist Party USA, the Workers' Movement, the Feminist Movement, the Socialist Workers' Party, and any other group associated with the New Left. Cointelpro officially began in 1956 as a program to increase factionalism, cause disruption, and win defections inside the Communist Party USA. Some of the methods included planning anonymous phone calls, IRS audits, and using the falsification of documents. However, the program quickly expanded to include the growing Black Power movement, and in 1963, J. Edgar Hoover's head of the Domestic Intelligence Division, William Sullivan, singled out Martin Luther King Jr., writing, "In light of King's powerful demagogic speech, we must mark him now, if we have not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro, and national security." The FBI immediately began bugging King's home and hotel rooms and planning informants in his inner circle. Historian Taylor Branch documents an anonymous November 21, 1964 suicide package sent by the FBI that contained secret audio recordings of King. The tape was prepared by FBI audio technician John Matter, recounting a number of King's sexual indiscretions along with a letter telling him there is only one way out for you. The program also targeted Malcolm X and sought to widen the divide between him and Elijah Muhammad, and sparking acrimonious debates within the organization. One of the long-term goals of Cointelpro was to prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant Black nationalist movement. This was the case with a rising star named Fred Hampton. The 21-year-old rose through the ranks and emerged as the chairman of the Chicago Black Panthers Party. He was a charismatic, uncompromising, radical revolutionary who inspired devotion, adoration, respect, and unity, saying, "A lot of people don't understand the Black Panther Party's relationship with white mother country radicals. We don't think you fight fire with fire. We think you fight fire with water. We're going to fight racism not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We say we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism." In 1969, the FBI tried to incite the Blackstone Rangers, a criminal gang, to kill Hampton, sending false letters. When that failed, the FBI planted an informant as Hampton's bodyguard. At 4 a.m., the FBI broke in and assassinated Fred Hampton, who never had a criminal charge pressed against him, while he was sleeping in his bed next to his wife, Deborah Johnson, who was 8.5 months pregnant. The FBI continued its subversive tactics until, on March 8, 1971, a group of activists called the Citizens Committee to Investigate the FBI broke into an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania, and stole every document they found. Among these was a program called Cointelpro. The activists sent documents to several different news outlets, but none would print them, so the committee resent them until finally they were published. To no avail, over 200 FBI agents were assigned to uncover the identity of the burglars. However, the documents revealed to the American public a nationwide campaign hell-bent on undermining all political activism, targeting over 200 left-wing groups as well as nationalist and other right-wing organizations. Over 40 years later, in January of 2014, the members of the Citizens Committee to Investigate the FBI revealed themselves to the world. Among them was John Raines, who said, "The problem was J. Edgar Hoover was untouchable. Nobody was holding him accountable. And that meant somebody had to get objective evidence of what his FBI was doing. And that led us to the idea that Bill Davidson had suggested to us. Let's break into the FBI office, get their files, and get what they're doing in their own handwriting." This led, at least in theory, to the end of the program. The Church Committee, which was set up to investigate the abuses carried out by the FBI, concluded that many of the techniques used would be intolerable in a democratic society, even if all the targets had been involved in violent activity. But Cointelpro went far beyond that. The Bureau conducted a sophisticated vigilante operation aimed squarely at preventing the exercise of First Amendment rights of speech and association. NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden points out that what is most interesting about Cointelpro is the exposures happened at exactly the same time as the Watergate scandal. Watergate was a one-time event carried out at the behest of a paranoid president, whereas Cointelpro was a sweeping network of covert operations spanning 4 administrations. And while just about every American can tell you about Watergate, very few are familiar with Cointelpro. This is because Cointelpro was aimed at those without any formal political power, while Watergate was aimed at the Democratic Party, and power can defend itself. So therefore, Watergate is painted by the educated press as quite possibly the biggest scandal in the history of the US, even though Cointelpro is vastly more significant. In his book, No Place to Hide, author Glenn Greenwald argues power uses dispossessed groups, be it communists or Muslims, to justify constitutional violations because most Americans will excuse government abuse against a group they do not like. But those tools are always eventually turned against other unwilling and unknowing participants. Greenwald writes, no matter the specific techniques involved, historically mass surveillance has had several consistent attributes. Initially, it is always the country's dissidents and marginalized who bear the brunt of surveillance, leading those who support the government or are merely apathetic to mistakenly believing they are immune. Thanks for watching.